Good evening and welcome to Health Quest. I'm Deborah Arneson, your host for tonight. And tonight we have a wonderful show for you. We're going to be talking about one of the most controversial subjects in the nation right now, hair tissue mineral analyses. So we want to bring some more information to the table, certainly more than they brought on Dateline a couple weeks ago. So we have tonight David Quigg, and David is a PhD nutritional biochemist. David, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Yes, welcome back. So we're going to pick your brain, and I have a ton of questions for you, so we're going to really crank with these, okay? We're going to talk about elemental hair tissue analysis. Why is this assessment great to do?
Because it provides a long-term or a temporal record of what's been going on in your body over a period of months, as opposed to a blood test, which shows you what's happening at the time that you stick and draw the blood. So it shows a long-term record of what's been happening.
How long-term?
If you take from within an inch of the scalp, you're looking at roughly 3 to 4 months worth of activity or time, and it depends. People's hair grows at different rates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a good inch at the base of the scalp is the best place to take it from.
Right.
Can we take it from other areas of the body?
You can, if you're strictly looking for toxic elements like lead, cadmium, mercury, you can use pubic hair. We have reference ranges for pubic hair. We don't have reference ranges for, say, chest hair. Armpit hair would not be good because there's so many metals that are used in antiperspirants and deodorants. So we really like scalp hair the best.
Okay. How is hair analysis performed? Can anyone do this, or does it require specifically a talented lab with a good interpretation and specific equipment to create a good, exact
It requires
methodology?
Very sophisticated equipment on the order of $500,000 per instrument, and that's just to do the analysis. First, it has to be digested and prepped in a very clean environment. So no, it cannot be done just anywhere. It has to be done in a place that has a great deal of experience in doing it, and takes all the precautions and assures quality control and that sort of thing.
So it's a very exact science.
It is
and
a
analysis.
science, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And tell us a little bit about this. I mean, is it true that the Atomic Energy Commission, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, as well as the World Health Organization, all endorse and actually use this for different purposes? What are their purposes?
Absolutely. Well, their primary consideration is for monitoring for industrial occupational exposure.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting that on one hand they'd say, well, it's okay that these famous organizations, health organizations, use it to make sure that people aren't overexposed in their occupation, but then question it for the average American on the street.
Sure.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
So they're actually looking for things like lead.
Lead, cadmium, arsenic, antimony.
What can those heavy metals do to people?
The most significant thing is they have very bad effects on the central nervous system, cognitive function, memory, sleep disturbance, behavior. Lead, high levels of lead in children are very highly correlated with aberrant behavior and arrest rate and incarceration rate.
Interesting. So check your kid's lead level.
Right.
Does a blood test show the same thing?
If you catch it within a very short window of time, no.
Of the exposure to the element.
Right.
Okay.
The toxic elements are cleared very rapidly from blood, and for example, lead is deposited, about 95% of it quickly deposited into bone. So you're not going to detect it nearly as quickly. The toxic elements are concentrated in hair about 200 to 300 times higher than they are in circulating blood.
Oh, they are.
And that's because hair is actually an excretory tissue, and it's a way for your body to get rid of these things.
I see. So the hair, the skin, the nails.
Right.
Can you do skin scrapings as well?
No, but actually we are beginning to do sweat analysis.
Really?
We have a little device that we collect sweat while people are in the sauna. Well, it's...
Who analyzes this?
It's the largest organ in the body is the skin,
Sure.
and why not utilize that surface to get rid of toxins? I mean, the body does it, why not measure it through that process?
Would there be one area of the body that would sweat more proficiently, or where you would store, because it's stored, I mean, different, as I understand it, different toxic elements have a propensity towards different systems or glands in the body?
Different organs, certainly.
Okay.
For example, cadmium's mostly in the kidneys, lead's mostly in the bone, mercury goes to the kidneys, intestine, and unfortunately in the brain. But once you start to sweat, now you're talking about a giant pool, basically, of water in the body that's just going to go out through the skin without respect to the organ from which it came.
So if you don't exercise, sit in a hot tub of water every night.
Or
sweat
use
your
the sauna,
brains out.
right.
Yeah, or use a sauna, but some people don't have access to saunas, so sweat in a hot tub of water, that would do it, right? Everybody can get in a bathtub and sweat away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Are all hair analyses labs comparable in respect to quality, precision, and exactitude? Or can someone just go on the internet, as we mentioned in our last show, and just get a perfectly good sample sent off to a lab and expect qualified, responsible results?
No, absolutely not. In fact, that was the whole point of the Dateline program, was if they submitted to 10 different labs, they basically got 8 different answers, 2 that were in agreement and 8 that were just all over the place. So no, it has to be done in a very reputable lab.
Manner.
Right.
Okay. Let me ask you this. How does one collect a hair specimen? Do they have to take it from the top of the head, the side of their head? I mean, I have people who will send me, like, pluck out a little piece of hair and send it to me and go, can I use this?
Right, or ask their beautician to do it. No, actually, it should be done, very importantly, using a very clean pair of stainless steel scissors. If you use rusty scissors, just one little fleck of rust will just blow out all the readings. And it should be, we recommend that it's collected from several different sites across the back of the neck within 1 inch of the scalp. We don't want the old ends from long hair because things leach out and hair treatment products get accumulated in that. So what we want is virgin hair close to the scalp from several different sites.
Oh, really? So sampling.
Right.
Let's talk about, you know, using products like bleaches or dyes. If someone uses light coloring, does it have a tendency to bring up a certain element like aluminum?
Yes, and actually we're about to publish a very extensive experiment about what products add things to hair and what take them away. What we have found is for use in hair element analysis, if one uses baby shampoo for about a week prior to doing the sampling, you will not add anything significant.
That's great.
Any toxic metals. Certainly bleaches, dyes, permanents, they all add and even take away some elements from the hair. So if you have, say, a typical American female who bleaches, dyes, perms, straightens, and does whatever with her hair.
Well, we can't all have your curls,
Right,
David.
well,
I'd kill for those
if you,
curls.
if you know that a person does that and the person has general symptoms of fatigue or fibromyalgia, muscle pain, just a basic multi-symptom patient that doesn't know why they're aging in an accelerated manner, you're better off to just use a sample of pubic hair because the pubic hair will show the toxic elements very well correlated with the scalp hair.
Well, that's a good point. Now, when somebody does a hair tissue test, they receive how many elements that are actually studied?
Wow.
Is it like 40 or 60?
It's on the order of 40 elements,
Okay.
yes.
And of those, how many are toxic?
About 14.
14, which would be lead, aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, nickel,
Beryllium, silver, nickel. Yeah, those are the main ones. Yeah.
And what do they do to get those out if they have, like, you know, a number of toxic elements that are really creating? First of all, if you have them, you're like, oh, my aluminum is high, I'm going to get Alzheimer's. That's what most people react to. Or, oh, my lead is high, you know, I'm going to have neurological problems. Or, oh, you know, my copper is high, you know, high. I'm going to have, you know, allergy issues. What do people do to figure out what they need more of or less of, and how do they get those minerals balanced?
The very first thing they need to do is figure out what the source of exposure is, and stop that.
So copper would come typically from, like, water? Pipes?
Some from copper fittings in some homes, yes. Excess copper in the diet. If one is zinc deficient, you will absorb more copper. If one has a molybdenum deficiency, these are all interrelated. You'll absorb more copper, and vice versa. So it's very complicated, and I can't give a simple answer on
Because
how to
it's
get rid of all those
user-specific.
things. If one has a very serious level of, say, lead, for example, there are very specific pharmaceutical agents that one can use very, very effectively, usually done through a DO or an MD who's licensed to order the prescription drugs and get rid of those metals very effectively.
Most of the clients who come to see me will not take drugs, however. So then what would you do that's, you know, basically
Right.
nutritional
Right.
in its application?
The standard is vitamin C, 3 times a day, at least a gram per time orally. Malic acid is another product that works very well. Citric acid.
Okay.
These are weaker binders than the pharmaceutical agents, and it may take longer. There are some natural products that contain large amounts of chlorophyll.
Okay.
And chlorophyll, like hemoglobin, is a big ring structure with a magnesium in the middle. But the magnesium will get displaced, and say you'll grab the lead and you'll excrete that out.
That's
So there are
great.
lots of natural products that one
Okay.
can use. It'll just take a little longer.
How long?
It's
Using
hard to
natural
say. It
products?
depends on the initial level,
Okay.
and it also depends on the overall nutritional status of the person. The sicker one is, the less capacity one has to detoxify.
Right.
So the goal is not only to get rid of the toxic metal, but to optimize nutritional status, to allow the body to do what it knows how to do. If it just needs the right nutrients to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very complicated.
It's complicated.
There's no
and
quick fix.
No, there's no magic bullets.
I know.
Right.
I know. Everyone wants a magic bullet.
Right.
But there aren't any. It takes a little bit of work, you guys. But, you know, there are people out there who can show you how to do this and how to actuate what your problem is and how to reach your full potential and getting rid of the issue.
I think one of the most important things about finding even moderate levels of heavy metals in the hair element analysis is that a lot of times the effects of those metals aren't going to be exhibited until later in life, and that's when one gets up around their 50s and 60s and they think, gee, my mind doesn't work like it should. A lot of these things take a long time before we really start seeing the outcome.
The impact.
So doing hair analysis on a fairly regular basis, I'd say twice a year for a healthy patient, just so you can monitor those trends and cut those off before it becomes a problem. Prevention is a big part of it.
Sure it is. And having a preventive kind of mindset.
Right.
What type of health issues would people most benefit? Actually, doing the hair tissue test would benefit those with what type of health issues most of the time?
If you have, a lot of times, most of our clients have patients that come in, they've been around the medical block, so to speak, and they're basically told, your CAT scan, your HMO covers your CAT scan, we've done a barium enema, there's nothing wrong with you, here's your Prozac.
Right.
Those patients that come in with multiple symptoms frequently have either a heavy metal burden that they can handle or have a major imbalance in their essential nutrients.
Okay.
The other major group that we really should talk about is those that have malabsorption problems. And I'm sure you've seen the results of hair analysis where all the essential elements are way over to the left, very low.
Yep.
You can't just go into that patient and say, well, your elements are low, you need to take this multi-mineral supplement. They won't absorb it. You have to figure out what's wrong with their gut, why they're not absorbing it, correct that first, and then you can start getting the effect of the supplement.
That's the one thing, David, I think most people don't understand most of the time is that, you know what, I don't care what your issue is, if you can't absorb and utilize nutrients efficiently, if there's not enough hydrochloric acid, or your pH is too acidic, you know, you're in trouble and you won't be able to use all those hundreds of dollars worth of vitamins and supplements you take every day, so you're just taxing the body.
A classic example is the person that gets indigestion. And so they're constantly taking antacids or acid blockers. And so they're raising the pH in their upper GI tract, and they're not going to be able to absorb their multiple vitamin or mineral.
Exactly. I know. And you see that all the time. People come and they go, oh, well, products hurt my stomach.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't.
Exactly. Not if you're working well and you're taking good products. Tell me this. So many people want to know what the variance is between doing a whole blood test, for instance, and a hair tissue test. Specifically, what will this show us that blood test won't?
Again, we're looking at a longer period of time being represented in the hair test than in the blood. So you will see things that have been out of line for a while.
We see a lot more minerals, right? I mean, the blood is going to give us calcium and magnesium and potassium, but it doesn't give us 40 different elements.
No, and most blood tests do not measure 40 different elements. The other thing is the blood can be affected more by what one consumed in the previous couple days or the multiple vitamin and mineral that they took a couple hours before than will the hair test. And actually, one should not use hair analysis alone. One should use it in conjunction with other laboratory tests to get the full picture.
Such as a blood test.
Such as a blood test.
Okay.
Right.
Can a hair tissue test show someone whether or not they're hypothyroid or have propensity towards developing hypothyroid or hypoglycemia, or are there trends and patterns that show up?
It can give you a clue. It can give you a clue, and you match up certain patterns in the hair analysis, and you a very thorough physical exam, and again other tests. But in and of itself, the hair analysis should not be used as the test of all tests to make that final diagnosis.
Okay.
Right.
Do you believe, like many biochemists, David, that minerals are the key to life, and without minerals we can't actually achieve many biochemical functions?
Absolutely.
Such as the creation of hormones and the utilization of, creation of enzymes and utilization of proteins. Right. So it's really important to know what your mineral status is, and it's probably the second step, I would say, after correcting a gut imbalance or dysbiosis.
Absolutely.
So find out what your mineral status is, put in what you're missing, and get rid of what you don't need, like the toxic heavy metals.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but the essential elements are the spark plugs of life. And the analogy I like to draw is you can have a race car engine with high octane fuel in it, but if you don't have the spark plugs or the minerals there, that thing's not going to go anywhere.
That's right. So that's what does it.
Right.
And why are we so mineral deficient in this country? Why are people, I mean, I see people with like low, horribly low mineral status so often.
Particularly magnesium.
Yes.
Our diet is terrible in the United States. People come from other countries to the United States, and the first thing they're hit with in the airport is the fast foods and everything. People don't take time, and if one did take their time, you can get the right food still. You can buy organic foods, you can buy healthy foods, but everything is processed and over-processed, and typically they'll remove maybe 40 different nutrients, including the phytonutrients, and replace maybe 6 or 8, and say now it's fortified, so it's okay. But all those other things are still missing.
We agree so much on so many things.
It's just the diet in general.
The American diet, plus people end up eating, I think, the same thing every single day because they're so busy, and they create allergies just by the mere fact that they're abusive with a specific food or a group of foods.
Right.
So you see that too. Okay, so we need to know that. Now, can a hair tissue test also tell us, if we find out what our mineral deficiencies are, what correlated cofactor vitamins we're missing as well?
To some extent, that's a large extrapolation, but some things do go hand in hand. For example, you cannot use B6 properly in the body without a sufficient amount of magnesium, and typically magnesium and B6 deficiencies will occur together.
Right.
But otherwise, that's kind of tough to draw too far from the minerals to the vitamins.
Okay.
I think it's prudent to say that everyone should probably take a multiple vitamin anyhow. It's not going to hurt you.
And what about vitamins? Are they created equal in your opinion?
No, absolutely not. There's a lot of garbage out there. A friend of mine used to work in a lab where they analyzed fecal samples, and he said that he used to be able to read the names on some of the brands of the compressed tablets.
It's expensive feces.
So you're better off with a capsule form, with a powdered in a capsule form.
Okay, that's good to know. What about competency? How does one become competent in the interpretation of these hair tissue tests? Because this is not simple. This is not like, okay, 1, 2, 3.
It's not simple, and there are several hundred papers, research papers, about what different levels of elements in hair actually mean. It takes someone who has read and seen lots and lots of these reports. It takes a laboratory that puts out a very scientifically based interpretation guide without all the hooey and over extrapolation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes somebody who's seasoned, basically.
Right.
And again, working with your lab, you know, we have you to refer to if we have questions, which is nice because many labs, again, don't have competent people on the other end of the phone.
Right.
Or they're not, you know, they're
Yeah.
not
We have a
thorough.
lot of clients, they'll do their first couple of tests and they'll call and say, help. You know, this looks like a phone book to me. What do these numbers mean?
I just walked into a hardware store.
And after about 10 of them, they really start to get the feel, again, using a good manual as a guide. And then again, we're always available to help interpret
That's great.
these things.
Tell me this, what are some of the myths that surround hair analysis and how is it misused?
Some of the myths are that every element of the 40 or so elements that we measure have absolute direct correlations to tissue levels. And one of the greatest myths is about iron. Hair iron is not correlated with blood or tissue levels of iron. Some of the other myths, absolutely.
So you could see an excessively low hair tissue iron and excessively high.
Yes,
Okay.
or vice versa.
Why would that be?
I'm not sure why that is, but
Okay.
it's just that the research has not borne out that hair iron is correlated with hemoglobin status or total iron binding or anything else.
So you need to have both tests once again
Absolutely.
to validate it.
Absolutely.
What if you see both are low?
Well, then that's a pretty good bet that the individual needs iron.
Okay, so stick with that.
Right.
All right, tell me this. How do most doctors and healthcare practitioners utilize hair analysis as part of their complete patient assessment protocol?
And I think the key word is part of.
Okay.
Again, its greatest utility is screening for the toxic elements, looking for major trends for malabsorption and major imbalances in the elements, the essential elements that compete for absorption.
Okay.
That should be a part of the picture of a number of different laboratory tests that one does, and very importantly, the physical examination, the skin, looking at the fingernails, all these important things, looking in the eyes, actually touching and seeing the patient.
Right. So signs and symptoms of mineral deficiencies would be, first of all, energy.
Energy is one of the key ones. Fibromyalgia, the just general muscle pain. I'm getting old, you know, first thing in the morning.
Aches and pains everywhere, which is pretty common.
Poor memory, sleep disturbances. Those are the primary.
And once you establish a really good mineral balance, most of these issues do tend to go away, am I correct?
It's amazing. Once one corrects some of the essential element deficiencies, you'll see the toxic elements start to go down on their own.
They push them out.
Because the body's able to use its own natural detoxification system to get rid of this stuff. It's amazing how aluminum, for example, will just start to go down as you fix a magnesium deficiency. And it's been estimated that about 80 to 90% of Americans are magnesium deficient.
Now, and that's true, and most people who are taking calcium don't even really need calcium.
Right.
They need magnesium.
Right.
And to take more calcium creates a bigger problem than what you had before.
Creates more of a
So we're
demand.
seeing all these mustache commercials, and they're not necessarily appropriate for many of the people most of the time.
Oh, for the milk, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Can you use this real quickly on infants and children in lieu of drawing blood?
Absolutely, and that's another one of the great utilities of hair analysis. Is as soon as
Don't have to stick the baby.
as soon as the child has enough hair, you can take a small hair sample from the back of the head.
Okay.
You don't have to traumatize them with a needle, and you can
Okay.
get some good information.
David, we are running out of time. Thank you for joining us again this evening.
Thanks
It
for
was
having me
wonderful,
again.
as always, having
good
you
to be
here.
here.
It's a pleasure. I'm Deborah Arneson, bringing you Health Quest. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. We hope that you're learning lots of good information here. And again, look for hair tissue mineral analysis as a resolve and a way to heal your body. And certainly think about your mineral status, how important it is, and make sure that you eat live foods every day, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Until next week, take good care of your health. I'm Deborah Arneson, and good night.